They're people who are changing the story every day in their own small way, even if they're not well known.
I make tea for my dad all the time, and so there's one time where I was doing something, and so I was like, why don't you ask my brother to do it? Because I was doing that at the same age.
We read the princess stories, and sometimes I change the words, and I make the outcome a little different, or I frame it in different ways.
My dad specifically, when I think back, he's actually a really good role model for that. He would like, even when he was like reading me books as a kid with like male protagonists, he would change the pronouns so that they were women. And I didn't even figure that out till I was like old enough to read on my own and stuff.
I knew from the beginning in terms of how at that time in that generation, how I was being asked or what I was being asked to do seemed to equate itself with what women were supposed to do. It wasn't until my mother really saw that I was this go-getter and really enjoyed education, and I was really her smart child, that she started to say, oh no, she's not washing the dishes, you wash the dishes. And she started saying, come with me to this program, this event, or come hear this politician speak.
So actually just this weekend, I learned, my boyfriend taught me how to drive my dad's tractor for the first time, and I'm 40 years old, because he believes that women can do anything.
I was a teacher, and now I work with teachers on teaching math, so I think that that's a place where I get to see it in terms of building the confidence of teachers, in especially the elementary grades, most of whom are women, and trying to change that mindset toward liking the math and science, and then allowing young girls to have that same confidence and belief about it.
We need to start teaching narratives outside just like the dominant narrative of like the heterosexual white male. We need to focus on the females, the black men, the black woman, people of color and stuff. So I guess when people already have like a discourse on what is going on and who makes up the community, then that would definitely help eliminate problems that I'm seeing today.
I recognize that, that my version of masculinity is valuable, and it's valuable to young boys in particular who, who are taught a very specific and rigid version of what it means to be masculine in America.
When I was young and hadn't decided on any career yet, I happened to be like in a class with somebody and we were going around doing introductions the first day. She introduced herself, I'm, so-and-so, and I'm a carpenter. She's a woman, and my jaw just like about dropped to the floor because I just didn't know, I still internalized those stereotypes even as a young adult, and I didn't know that women could actually be builders. And so that experience of having somebody set that example ultimately led me to that career.
A lot of the girls are like, okay, I'm going to try something bigger. So they're going for welding, and they're going for automotive, and they're going for urban forestry. So now they're like, okay, maybe we should try this. But before it was just like, no, that don't seem really good.
I am currently a social studies teacher in South Royalton. And one of the lessons we do is around current events, and it involves a comic called Miss Tippett. And in the comic there is a boardroom in which a woman makes a suggestion, and the caption reads, that is a great suggestion. Miss Tippett, perhaps one of the men, would like to make it. And then we engage in a conversation around, have you ever had a Miss Tippett moment? Have you ever seen the Miss Tippett moment where your opinion is put down because of your gender, or in some cases your race, or who you are? And we try to start a dialogue around stereotypes.
When I think about Logic Supply and their open policies, it's a game changer in that they're an open salary company. So every woman in the company every employee in the company can see their pay in comparison, and everybody is treated fairly. And there's no secrets, there's no guessing, am I paid equally to my male counterparts? So I can look around the table of other management team members and know my pay is comparable. I'm an equal voice at the table. And when I think about other businesses, if that's a strong statement. You take away the question.
Quite frankly, from a business perspective, we cannot afford to not tap the intelligence, the problem-solving ability, the creativity of almost half the population. So when we look at gender, we look at an opportunity to get the best problem solvers that we can for our business. It makes good economic sense as well as business sense.
Growing up, I always kind of thought this is where I wanted to end up. I took a law enforcement class in high school through the Career Center. I was too young at that point to actually join a police department. Most won't hire you until you're 21 years old, so I joined the military. I was in the Army for 5 years as military police.
When I moved to Burlington 30 years ago, I joined the Burlington Business and Professional Women's Organization, so I sort of continued that relationship building with women, and that was empowering to me. So making sure that I continued to have those relationships kept me going in an environment that might not have been always friendly to women.
So I think for men as allies, one of the most effective things you can do is to acknowledge and own the things about your own lived experiences that have allowed you to be successful and flourish, and to help expose and illuminate those to the women in your lives, but also to expand and create space for other types of approaches or ways of existing, and to learn from women about some of the opportunities that they have, and really helping to cultivate those in ways that allow them to flourish.
I was waiting tables at a banquet in Stowe when I was young and beautiful, and it was a cattleman's banquet, and they had dirty old men to begin with. Every time I got near the table, this old buzzard was reaching for me. And along towards the end of the evening, the drunker they got, the louder he was. And he finally said, "Gee, honey, I'd sure like to get in your pants." I said, "Sir, there's one roll in there now, and that's enough." I got a $20 tip from that table, from the rest of the table. So
I decided, first of all, that we needed a family court. So I spent 10 years, and I am now called the mother of the family court. And I took cases to the Vermont Supreme Court when I felt women had really been discriminated against. And we won some very good decisions.
As far as my recovery was going, like, I needed to be involved with women who could teach me how to be a mom and how to do recovery and how to, no matter what, talk to people when I felt like using instead of picking up.
I'm actively working to try and spread information to get rid of the misinformation that, oh, hey, you're just either one or the other. And that it's kind of hard sometimes, but it's something that means a lot to me, because I remember the first day I learned that there was a term for what I was. It was just a really emotionally overwhelming moment.
The biggest thing is, first of all, being involved in politics. Like, I think that so many people, especially my age, have the idea that, like, politics don't affect them directly, or that's what I get a lot when I do voter registration, is that, like, oh, I don't follow politics. But, like, you not following politics just means that you don't think it's going to directly affect you.
Seeing these women fight for something that I don't experience, it really pushes me to have an open mindset. And a lot of the work that I do as an activist is fighting for people, or fighting for things that I necessarily don't have to fight for to benefit myself, but I realize that other people need help.
I think there's a tremendous role for men to play, and I would say a responsibility. We often say, when we talk about women achieving more, and we say, isn't that great, they're doing more. Well, it's not just up to them.
Be yourself, be honest. Don't let anybody push you around. Ask for help.
Appreciate the help that you receive. Look for mentors.
We're not talking about queer women, we're not talking about trans women, we're not talking about black women, and that's the inherent problem, is that you need to expand, first of all, you need to expand the idea of what a woman is so that you can be able to defend more women.
In a perfect world, when I meet you, I have no idea who you are until the words that come out of your mouth.
And it goes back to that, the analogy with the face mask on the airplane. Before you say, put the mask on your child, put the mask on yourself, or the person sitting next to you, put the mask on yourself. You need to be able to breathe. You need to be able to show up for yourself.
Just as important as interviewing you for the job, you need to interview them and have it really set in your mind what you're willing to put up with.
I want to be taken seriously, and you have to take it seriously to be taken seriously.
My clients humble me greatly. I was them. I was poor. I got a divorce. I rolled up pennies to buy bologna and cheap bread for my kids. And so I share that story sometimes when they say, I just can't do it, it's too big. Like, well, all you have to do is one step at a time. And we're all in this together. So I do share my story just so other people can say, wow, you did it? Maybe I can do it too.
I mean, why is there a tax on tampons? That makes no sense. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like, why? Why is that a thing?